Call to order the October 12, 2021 Transportation Committee meeting. Present are Councilman Lambert and Councilman Mason. Councilman Keglotti and Wagaspack are on their way. We will start with the invocation and the pledge. Councilman Lambert, you lead us in that.
Please bow. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Please, Lord, give us the wisdom and strength to move our parish forward with transportation needs. We ask all these things in your Son's, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if anyone in the vast audience has a comment, they can fill out a red or green card and bring it up to the podium, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Thank you very much. Gotcha. I have nothing to add to the chairman's report. Public comment period, we don't have any comments at this time. Moving on to general business, acceptance of the August 10th, 2021 minutes.
Second.
We have motion and a second. No objections. Boom. Item 5B. I'm excited about this. It's a presentation by Mr. Rowdy Marshall, A History of Roads in Ascension Parish. I can tell you we've been working on doing this for a couple months now, but with COVID we were unable to do it because this has to be done in person to get the full effect. So, Mr. Torre, I'll let you take it away and introduce Mr. Marshall.
I know, he's got, a presentation, and, if there's any time limit, he did mention to me he can speed it up or slow it down or what have you, but he's got a lot of great information. He and I have talked over time. Rodney likes genealogy a lot. He's done a lot of research with genealogy, but he and I talked, and he would often mention, because he knew I was in transportation, about some history in Ascension Parish, so it mushroomed into this to where I thought it'd be a great history lesson for those like me and a lot of you that's born and raised here, but also the people that aren't, that are newcomers here. So without further ado, this is Rodney Marshall.
Thanks, Joey. Joey said I only have 3.5 hours, so I got to get to it pretty quick. Anyway, can you turn? There it is. Okay. So I think you all have an agenda item. Basically, there's a lot to review out there. And the way this works out is that I've discovered in January of 19 police jury records that were transcribed by the WPA. The WPA was the Works Project Association during the Depression, okay? And the state hired these people to go around to all the parishes in Louisiana and to transcribe the old police jury records. And I was doing some genealogy research, like Joey said, and I was looking at LSU, and they had these records. And so I went to, LSU actually stored the records with the state archives, so I went there. And since January of 2019, I've been going through these records one by one. And I've already read about 11,000 pages of the records. So I've gone through, you can see the records are from 1837 to 1856, and they skip to 1870 to 1940. And I've reviewed all the way up to 1935 so far. And the reason I was doing it is more for genealogy. I was looking for stuff on the Marshalls because we were on the police jury way back in the 1840s and stuff like that. And then I told Joey one of the things in the early 90s, I recorded my grandmother, and I always ask people I record, I says, what's your earliest thing you remember? And she said, when I was a little girl, she lived on Cornerview, on New River on Cornerview, right where the interstate crosses over Cornerview. And she says, when we were there, they were dredging New River. And she said her and her dad were out there, and they told them to put the spoils on his land. And she said for the next 5 years, we had great watermelons. So when I stumbled across these records, I said the first thing I'm going to look up is see if she knew what she was talking about. So she was born in 1910, so I went to 1915 immediately. And in 1918, I found it. What happened is they had just dredged New River, and people were complaining about dumping the spoils, and some people wouldn't let them. And they passed an ordinance that the first 20 feet on any waterway in Ascension Parish the parish was going to have a right of way to do what they can. So anyway, she knew what she was talking about, and so anyway, so then I started looking at the records, and as Joey said, I kept seeing a bunch of stuff about not only roads and transportation, but also about drainage and stuff. So that could be a different thing altogether. But the first thing was in 1840, the parish had their first public road policy. It was the regulations. And what they did is they had, I think it was 6 or 7 regulations, and it basically covered everything the police jury would do. And the first one was on levees and roads, okay? And just covering roads, the first one that said Article 1, so this was the first article of 43 articles. All the owners of land situated on the Mississippi River and Bayou Lafourche shall give to the public and constantly keep in perfect repair a road and a levee on the whole front of their land, which road and levee shall be made in the manner hereinafter mentioned. And then Article 7 said, the public road shall be at least 25 feet wide, raised in the center, and it shall on each side have a ditch at least 18 inches wide, 2 feet deep. So way back when the parish started, and I guess it was constant everywhere else, the only public roads were along the Mississippi River and Bayou Lafourche. And the landowners were responsible for not only the levees, but the roads. So they had to, if they got damaged, they had to fix them and all that. So what happened is you had roads all over the parish, but they weren't public roads. They were trails, they were people put roads and whatever. Well, the first road that was talked about in these records was in, let's see, it was the road from the Mississippi River to New River. And this road is basically, let me put a map up here. This is that Persac map from 1858 that you see everywhere. So this is between William Minor's property and Henry Doyle's, and they did this road from New River Landing all the way to New River. And let's see, in the meeting on June 5th, 1837, the inhabitants of New River said, we need a road, okay? So they formed a committee, and they started looking at getting a road to build this road right here. This was in 1837. The next meeting that brought it up was in July of 1846. They appointed a commissioners to lay out the road. And one of the things they said in October of 1846 is, we want to make sure the landowners aren't going to charge us anything, okay? So they go back to them, and then they come back and say, they actually want some money. They wanted $36 an acre for a 30-foot wide road. And so the parish had to go back and say, okay, this is going to cost us. They had originally said they were going to put $250 to build this road. Then they went to the state, and the state says, we'll give you $1,000 to help build this road. You have to go borrow money to get that $1,000, and then we'll pay you back once the road's done. So all this was going, and then in October 2nd of 1848, the police jury agreed to pay Mr. Doyle and Mr. Minor $515 for their land. Well, anyway, I made a little budget of the police jury back then, and this is from June 1847, and number 15, they appropriated for the public road in New River $515. So again, they had to come back, and this was just for the road. Then they had to build a ditch, okay? So the ditch cost them an extra $672. So in June of 1851, after 14 years, the road was finally built. And they approved a new ordinance, and for the people of the parish along New River, and the road had the same requirements as the Mississippi River and Bayou Lafourche, that the landowners were responsible for maintaining that road, and at their own cost. And they had requirements like they had to go cut down the trees every year to make sure they didn't grow up around the stuff and all that. So then they got a letter in 1854 from the New River residents in basically Santa Maula area that said, the road's about 15 to 24 miles long for these residents out there, and we don't have any mileposts out there. Y'all said y'all were going to put mileposts. So they agreed to put the mileposts, and they were going to put them every 2,000 feet, which is every 10 arpents. I'm sure you're familiar with an arpent. An arpent is 192 feet. So anyway, then the next letter on this road was from September of 1855. And again, they were required to repair all the roads and all the bridges. Well, there were eight bridges on the road, on the New River Road, and they petitioned the police jury at that time that says, we're just ordinary people. We don't have money to repair these bridges. And they said that, will you help us do that? Well, anyway, they just said tabled it indefinitely, and they were still responsible for this. So anyway, that covers basically, I'm going to cover a few more roads they had back then, but this process was how it did. A road didn't get done very quick. Sometimes it was years and years to get it done.
Some things don't change.
That's right. Well, I was telling Joey that the interesting thing from the 1830s all the way up to the 1930s, the two big issues all the time was roads and drainage, the whole time. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so the second road I wanted to talk about is this road called the Bruley Sacramento Road. And basically, and again, this was the second public road they talked about, and this was from June meeting of 1847. You had petitioners from about right here on Bayou, and they wanted a public road to go from here to Henry McCall's land. And this is a map I got from the parish. Can you push it out? Well, anyway, this is an 1877 map. And this road right here is that road. It's actually highway, I think I put on there 943. But anyway, this map was from 1877, but somebody had written on this map, and this came out of the courthouse, that this was the Bruley Sacramento Road. So again, this road took the same type of time to do. The third road was the road from New River. So when the road set, and it's basically Highway 73, it went to New River. And after that, they proposed in, let's see, 1848, they wanted to extend that road to Bayou Manchak, and then from there, east to Port Vincent, which is basically Highway 73 and Highway 42. And this is a map right here from 1830, and you can see all these this shows right here an old Galveston Road. So you always had that Galveston Road, but it basically followed that same as 73 is now. It goes by Dutchtown High School, then it crosses Airline, and it goes to Bayou Manchak. And so again, these roads always existed, but they finally became public roads. All right, so this next one was a really interesting thing. They wanted to build a road from New River to the Mississippi River a few miles below Donaldsonville, and this came up in September of 1847. And what happened was the people in Santa Maula said, for us to get to Donaldsonville, we have to go all the way to New River, go back down to New River Landing, either take a ferry there or go down to Darrow and take another ferry, and it's basically a day trip to get to the courthouse. They wanted a road somewhere on Cornerview Road to go down to Darrow, and so it would cut their trip in half. So this is a map from 1891 that shows that road. So right here is Cornerview Road at Boudreaux Road. and then it goes down, and then you hit Robert Wilson Road, and then after it crosses the interstate, you have St. Landry Road. So in 1891, they had completed that road, but by 1939, they had removed that road. That road, I guess the landowners decided it wouldn't exist. This is a map from 1939, and that road would have came straight down here, but all this was abandoned, and the only thing they had left was right there. This right here is Burnside Road, Highway 44. So the last road I want to talk to is in 1855, they wanted a road from Port Vincent to J. Mitchell's on New River. So this is a map from 1877, and this is Bayou, Manchak, Amite River, and Port Vincent is about right here. Right here, this says Port Vincent to New River Road right here. So basically what this was it came down basically where 431 was, cut across at 931, and then went all the way down 431 till it hit New River. And again, that road was built in 1855. A couple of other things I wanted to show was what happened for newer roads. Back then, the plantation owners on the Mississippi River were required to be paid for that road, but basically anywhere else, the people had to donate their property. And that occurred through probably the 1920s, and then people started asking to be paid again. But this is one from AC, and this is Highway 22. That's AC at New River right here. And these petitioners wanted to build a road from AC to Bayou Pierre, which is right on Livingston, at Livingston where the diversion canal is now. And what you would typically see in the records is that these were all the property owners that lived along that route, and they all said, we're given 15 feet of our property so you can build this road. And this was really typical, and they required to get this in writing because earlier some people would renege on that, and then they'd build the road, and then some guy would put a fence up and wouldn't let people done. So again, they started requiring everybody who wanted to give the road, write this and send a letter that says, we're giving you permission to build a public road. The last road is basically Rowdy Road between New River and Bayou Northeast, or Black Bayou Road. And again, these guys, this was in July of 1910, and all these people and a lot of Bursa Jays and stuff, but it was just basically from Weber City Road to Black Bayou Road. All these people gave 15 feet, and there's 50, if not hundreds, of these that people did back then, and so it's pretty interesting how the process did. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the first vehicle speed limit ordinance in Ascension Parish was in June 4th of 1910. That meeting. Wow. And I'll read it. I guess you can't see the whole thing, but the ordinance regulating the speed limit of automobiles and providing penalties for the violation thereof. Section 1. Be it ordained by the police jury of Ascension Parish that the speed limit of automobiles being the same is hereby fixed at not more than 15 miles an hour. Section 2, be it further ordained that all drivers of automobiles shall slow down at a speed limit of not more than 8 miles an hour when driving around curves or bends in the road. Section 3, be it further ordained that all drivers of automobiles shall slow down at a speed limit of not more than 6 miles an hour when meeting buggies and carriages. Section 4, be it further ordained that all automobiles shall be required to have not less than 2 front lights and 1 rear lights lighted when running after dark. They had to put lanterns in their cars. Now this is the kicker here. Section 5, be it further ordained that any person violating any of the provisions of this ordinance shall be fined not more than $50 or in prison not more than 20 days or both at the discretion of the court. So you didn't want to be speeding in Ascension Parish back then. Couple of things I wanted to show is So I didn't talk about it much, but in somewhere around the 1870s, they started forming all these road districts. And this is the budget of 1917, 1918 in Ascension Parish. And you can see here, the first highway district was allotted $2,475. The second highway district, $2,300. The third, $2,000, and the fourth was $1,800. And the whole budget for the parish back then was $56,266. There's a lot of interesting things on here if y'all wanted to look at all these, and you know, the parish did a lot of weird stuff back then. We had a dipping VAT certificate right here. So ticks were a bad problem in the late 1800s, early 1900s on cattle, and they required all your cattle to be dipped. And every time a cow drowned in a dipping vat, the parish had to pay for that cow.
Wow.
So that was my quick summary of the oldest roads in Ascension Parish. It was really interesting. Each road district was responsible for their own roads, and they taxed their own people. So if you needed like this $2,400 for the road district, that was directly assessed to the people, say, in that ward. So you didn't have an overall parish number. You had a parish number, and then for drainage and roads, you had specific taxes to each individual ward. And so if you wanted something, you had to pay for it.
Wow. Well, if you don't mind, that was very interesting. And one of the things I know Mr. Turo and I have talked about in the past, as much as I like saying I live off of Highway 42, I'd rather say I live off of a road named after somebody from the parish. So I'd love to be able to sit down with you one day and learn about some of the families and the history of Highway 42. And
Yep. Well, again, 42 was called the road from to Port Vincent, you know, when it was founded in the 1850s and stuff like that. But yeah, in all these roads, so the hundreds, sometimes it was the landowner who got to name the road, you know, and in the police jury records, it would say this road will be known as such and such.
wow.
So those are all there. Yep.
Does anybody have any questions? Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Marchand, for the great information. It's really nice, you know, just to go back and thank Highway 42, Port Vincent, you know, all of the ag, you know, strawberries, potatoes, all of your farming equipment. The size of Manchak now, you had full vessels, I'm talking big boats, going through there to make their pickups, to go all the way to New Orleans to feed people.
Yeah.
And, you know, right along that curve at Port Vincent, you had the last sawmill, Buddy Last Sawmill. This is where all the cypress, all of your main wood products were coming in off of the Ament River. And just to think that you could put a boat in and sail back and forth to the Mississippi River all the way to New Orleans.
That's right. You could do
It
that
was-
on Manchak. Yeah.
And then right here in town on New River.
Yeah.
But I just wish they'd, back in the day, instead of that 15 feet, I wish they'd had that 100 feet right away.
That's right.
So we could
That's right.
really build some roads back then.
I was telling Joey the interesting thing, so you had ferries at all these roads first. So you had one
Correct.
at Port Vincent called Chevik's Ferry.
Yep.
Even though people think that's pretty new, that was in the 1850s, Chevik's Ferry was there. And then you had one at Bayou Manchak too. And what happened is the parish would have a license fee. So people would bid on it, and the license fee for the Chevik's Ferry at Port Vincent was $800 a year. And they split that with Livingston Parish
that's
and
correct.
Ascension Parish, and then the parish put out what they could charge people. If you were walking across, it was certain 10 cents or something. If you had a buggy, it was certain. If you had, say, a loaded cart, I mean, you had, you know, 50 different things that would say how much they would charge. So that guy got to charge all that, and his only responsibility was he had to keep the ferry up, and he had to pay the parish $400 every year.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yep, it's real interesting.
Dempsey, I wonder if in 150 years from now, they'll be saying, man, those guys should have gotten the air rights. They knew we'd be flying cars through here, and they
Okay,
just didn't think
I'll
about
tell you
it.
one more thing if you don't want to run me off yet. So Airline Highway, okay? They started building that maybe 1929, 1930, and it was called Airline Highway. And so one of the meetings when they started building that is that the mayor of Donaldsonville came to one of the parish meetings and said, we need an airline highway going from Port Vincent Port Allen all the way down to New Orleans, okay? And what they were saying, it got named because airline, like we'd say beeline now, it was airline, that's all it was. And they went to the governor, parish went to the governor says, no, we're not building your line. So then the Donaldsonville mayor said, we need a paved road, basically Highway 22 up Burnside Road to get to airline, because they saw that was a big deal that kind of caused the east side of the parish to, start growing and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mr. Marshall, thank you very much.
Okay, all right.
You have a great day. Okay, I'd like to recognize that Councilman Cagnolotti and Councilman Wackerspack are present. So moving on to general business, item 5C, department report, Mr. Turo.
The activity by our department, by the transportation department, was you do have a list of everything that was done, and I certainly won't go through all of that. It's a lot of little small things. Our crew spent, the transportation section, work crew spent a vast majority of this past month doing debris removal in Donaldsonville. So there was not a whole lot of road work compared to, what they could normally do. There was a lot of, everybody had to stop what they're doing and do debris work. So the reason why this list isn't any more substantial than what you see there is, and a lot of the work is putting signs back up that got blown over and tilted and all that. So you see a big pile of signs and you see a few potholes, but not much more than that. Everybody else was doing debris removal, except for me, thankfully. It's a lot of good, hard work. I'll first go over the DOTD projects, some that are ongoing and some that are just starting. The Bayou, Francois, and Manchak bridges, of course, Francois has been done for quite a while. The Manchak bridge is fully open now, and you'll notice it is it's got room for 3 lanes there, so it's very important for the parish to push to get cooperation from East Baton Rouge to try to take Airline Highway and make it 3 lanes from LA 427 all the way to LA 42, which is Highland Road. And East Baton Rouge, in the previous meetings that we've had with them, they're on board with that. I guess what's disappointing is they are not on board with taking Old Perkins and doing improvements to that. So with that, Airline Highway is very important, and it would be great if Ascension Parish and East Baton Rouge, and even Livingston, because they certainly use that to commute back and forth. And I think, with the MPO, they could probably get all those parties together and, realize that that is an important project. It doesn't require a lot of right-of-way. It's going to help quite a bit, and it's just a matter of making it a priority. The next is LA 42. I'm sure a lot of you ride that. It is finally in its final stages. There's permanent signs being put up and dressing work. That's about it. The LA 44 at 941 Roundabout, there's just utility relocations going on right now, so it's going to be a little while before construction actually starts with the road work. LA 74 has been let for a bid. It is, it's going to start probably in a month or 2, they tell me. It is going to be a very intense construction. the sub-base is, it's not just the roadway, it's not just the pavement, not just the base, but the sub-base is poor. So they do have plans to totally rehab that road. So the maintaining traffic in that area is going to be pretty difficult because it is heavy construction. So that should be coming up probably in a month or so. LA 70 is a road project, road improvement that's actually not in the parish, but it's right next to the parish line on both sides of the Sunshine Bridge. You see there's a Sunshine Bridge fender repair that's actually in the river, actually in St. James Parish. But I know us Ascension people who are interested in that. LA 30 is going to have a left turn lane at LA 3115. Again, this is in Iberville Parish, but it's just outside the parish line. So it'll help a lot of plant traffic in the area. And there's a list there, a vast array of future projects coming up in the parish. A couple of jobs, LA 1 and LA 18 in Donaldsonville. There's several here. If you see, there's quite a few jobs in 2022, next year. Quite a few of these are Move Ascension projects, and I'm going to let Jeff Burst, explain those, but that's going to make for a lot of construction in the parish in 2022. We should have plenty of activity going on. The ongoing Move Ascension projects. The RJ Daigle is working on the road rehab project. They have finished task order 1, except for a few punch list items. But I will be issuing them task order number 2 in probably about 2 weeks. So that's going to be several roads. I have some listed, and there may be some added to that list also. With that road rehab project, it was allocated for $3 million in 2020. When we actually did the work in 2021, but it was also renewed for an additional. So task order 1 handled some of that money. Task order 2 is going to handle a little more, and there'll probably be another task order after that to use those funds. Moving on to the Move Ascension construction projects. They are continually working on the roundabout on Highway 930 in Henry. Our IT section is going to be working on a video that I know is going to be similar to what was done on the connector road between Ashland and St. Landry. And with a roundabout, I think it's going to be really neat to see where you progress from the little simple narrow road intersection that was there before, which I got to add was very low. There were at least 3 different rain events before this construction really literally got off the ground, before the embankment was put in, to where I had water. There was 2 feet of water I had to wade through to get some Type 3 barricades to put it at the outskirts of this project to keep people from going through the water. And now it is a crown in the middle, so the water will drain away. There's not going to be the deal where this intersection will be shut down during a big rain event. But a lot of the curb is poured. The roundabout configuration is done. We have an electrical contractor out there because this is going to be a lighted roundabout. If you look at the LA 70 and LA 22 roundabout that's in the Sorrento area, you'll notice the red concrete. Well, the red concrete's going to get poured later this week. So that's another aspect of it. Another thing is the middle part. What's going to be unique for this one as opposed to the one on 70 and 22 is this one is going to have vegetation in the middle. It's going to have some Indian hawthorns, crepe myrtles, and I think azaleas. So that'll be in the middle, and it does have a water source to where it can be watered. So all of that is upcoming. So in the next, gosh, I'd say in the next 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to see a big change. You know, you'll have all the concrete poured out. You'll probably have the lighting in place, and you know, the big last part is to get the asphalt in there. So like I said, in about 3 to 4 weeks, you know, you'll be able to see the outline and the final you know, the final picture, and you may actually have traffic on it. You know, there may be some final dressing, but it's starting to come around.
I drive that probably twice a week just to check out the progress, and it's looking good.
Oh, I need to add too that gosh, I'm trying to think of the principal's name at Prairieville Middle. He's been very cooperative.
Is it Mike? Grace? Yeah. God, man.
Garasi
Yeah,
is
that's
his
it.
last name.
Mine graduated from there, and I forget now. It's like
He's been very cooperative. We've inconvenienced him right at the beginning of the school year, and he just went with the flow. I mean, he's been very cooperative with us, great for us to deal with. We do have his concrete driveway poured, and we will maintain his access on West Lane that we've maintained throughout the construction. Seabro Road is just getting started, but the contractor is pretty aggressive. They're working on the widening part, which is on the south end. They've got a lot of the driveway pipes in place, so they've removed the existing driveways, put driveway pipes in. They're doing the same on the north side of the roadway. That project is about 10% complete. The Germany at Airline Highway project, we're waiting on signed contracts, but as soon as that's done, we will have a pre-construction meeting to get it going. The Joe Cerverio at Merritt Evans and Norwood Road intersection, that project's about 40% complete. The contractor is finishing up the base course on all 3 of those turnouts. So that's the turnouts at Norwood Road, at Duval Road, and at Merritt Evans Road. They've lined up the asphalt company that's going to come in. That should be in about 2 weeks. And you know, once that's done, they'll be able to open traffic up in all directions and do their final dressing after that. The Rowdy Road clearing and grubbing project is going to start later this week. This is just a clearing and grubbing contract. So the only thing that's going to happen here is trees are going to be removed to the right-of-way and fences are going to be moved back. The limits are from Airline Highway to Bayou Northeast, which is LA 935. And once this project is finished, utility relocations can start. And of course, we do have our utility companies. We want them in other areas, which is the roundabouts that we have very close to getting done, and poor Highway 930 also is going to need some attention. We want to get that one kicked off, but you know, that is the normal sequence. We have a clearing project. After that, we have utility relocations, which you know, like in the case of like Rowdy Road and Highway 930, those are big time moves. There's a lot of work to do with that. It's going to take utility companies 4 to 6 months to do that work. It's a lot of work, and of course we're asking them to do this when they have their own regular duties. The other topic that I wanted to hit on is the bridges. You know, I think y'all have done a good job of approving. I think it's very important that we have this bridge rating, these contractors, engineering firms that can do bridge load ratings. I'm going to give them about 5 bridges apiece, because we have 2 contractors that were selected by our selection committee and approved by council. There are, we're going to concentrate on the bridges that are in the poorest condition, but we're also going to take into consideration how much volume of traffic is on those bridges. So we'll make that selection to these engineering firms, and but the thought process is that we not only want them to rate the bridge, we want them to tell us what it would take to where we wouldn't have any more load restrictions on those bridges, because a lot of the bridges that we're talking about, this could be off-system bridges, or it could be parish-owned bridges. There's a lot of parish-owned bridges that the whole reason why all this came about is that in the past, and a lot of parishes are like us, we have not adequately rated parish bridges. You just ride on them, and there's nobody that says that bridge is not safe for a school bus to pass on or something like that. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this, is to be able to identify those bridges. Jerry Babin has been, monitoring our bridges, Brother Babin, we call him. He's been, working with DOTD on off-system bridges, but he also, on his own over the years has had crews to make repairs to parish bridges, but it's always been just what he sees, because we don't really have a number on these things. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish.
And Joe, just to be clear for the public's sake, we're not going to go out there, other than the bridges that we're already working on, we're not going to start working on bridges or closing down bridges right now.
Correct.
Okay. I know a lot of people get concerned. They want to be able to get home and get to their neighborhoods and do what they have to do.
Right.
So
Our
they'll
goal
have
is
advance
just
warning.
to identify those bridges. I mean, even whenever we make repairs to bridges, there's a lot of repairs that can be made under traffic. So, we'll keep all of that in mind. We may get more aggressive in the summer, to where we could, do some short-term closures, but right now that's not the goal. The goal is just to identify those bridges and what repairs should we attack, which ones we should do to make sure that the public is safe and we're not surprised.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing, staying on the topic of bridges, but I did want to bring it out. DOTD, the district bridge maintenance section, inspects all of the off-system bridges and their on-system bridges. And an on-system bridge is anything that's on a state route. So LA 431 bridges, airline highway bridges, those are called on-system bridges. And then there's others like the one on Manchak Acres Road is an off-system bridge. And the off-system bridge program, and I know that's a topic on the agenda. The off-system program is it gives federal money for the parish to be able to maintain these bridges, but we do have to follow their program, the off-system program. One thing that what I was getting to is the bridge maintenance section at DOTD at the district. Every 2 years they analyze all of the bridges, all the off-system, all the on-system bridges. They gave a report to say that there were 6 bridges that were not safe to pass by school bus traffic. Some of those were very important for the school. In fact, all of them are, but some more important than others. That list is what you see, the ones, of those 6 that they listed, we were able to get with, to go back to Brother Babin, what he had done, he knew that the one on Preparo Road had issues. So he had already, before we got this list, he had already made improvements to that bridge. The only thing we had to do, and it's something that you approved, We put a little small contract together real quick for an engineering firm to go rate that bridge so that we could take that load restriction off of it. School board was very appreciative of that. It allowed school bus traffic to go through that area. And, there's a lot of Oak Grove Primary and several other, East Ascension High School passes through there. So that one was scratched off of the list. DOTD did go back to the 941 at I-10 overpass, and they made some improvements to that bridge, so that one is no longer on the list. Two of the other bridges are LA 431, and Chad Lynch and Miss Aubrey Yates, who is the bus transportation person for the school board. They were very concerned about that one because it's the detour is very tough. I think they said it almost doubles the travel rate for those for the school buses and all that. So it caused them a lot of hardship. That DOTD district crew, of course, we begged them, but they did follow through, and they are making improvements to those two bridges, and they have made improvements to those bridges. They're going to go to their in-house rating crew, and we hope maybe this week, maybe next week, that those load restrictions can be lifted also. So I made a point of, that's Mr. Dalton Williams is over that crew. He and Stephen Howes did a great job of fixing the critical parts of those two bridges to where hopefully the school board can use that. And of course, there's a lot of traffic coming from Port Vincent going through there that would be inconvenienced if heavy trucks would not be able to go through there. So just wanted to bring that up, that situation is looking a lot better. And I think with the tools that you've given me to have companies available to analyze these other bridges, I think we can, make our bridge situation a lot better.
Okay, do we have any questions? Councilman Lambert. Oh, let me turn you on.
Joey, Joe Boy Road, I didn't see it on. You have those with Muddy Creek?
Yeah, it'll be on that list, the ones that we give to the contractors, that one, and I think the other one is the 933 bridge. But Joe Boy is going to be on that list to where we're going to have one of those consultants look at it and see what we need to do to improve it, and hopefully to where we don't have any other issues with it.
And I know we've been having a long discussion on Henderson Bayou, so
Yep.
we need to
Yep.
please keep that one at the front of the list, because
Sure.
that's another.
Right. But I was told, and I don't know if I mentioned that before, that the bridge itself is not bad, but you and I know the slopes
Yeah.
approaching that bridge are horrible. They're
Yeah.
really steep. So we are working, and Jeff Burst is helping out with that to go through the process of getting those slopes beefed up.
And the other thing, the task order, so we finalized in phase 1 with R.J. Daigle.
Yes.
So phase 2, in 2 weeks, how many roads do we have in that phase 2?
So far, there's 8.
8.
But I think there is, I could probably squeeze in, I have to look at the money, but we can probably squeeze in some more. I certainly don't want to use all the money now. I'd like to do this and then look at a task 3 after this year and finish out the monies that are available. And the reason why I don't want to finish everything on task 2, I've been told that the MPO is going to finally give me that list that we get that we usually get every 2 years, and there was a big delay on this one that gives us a number on the condition of all the roads in the parish. I have not had that tool to put this task order 1 or task order 2 together. We've just looked at it and said, this one looks bad, so we're going to fix it. But that one is that information that we get from the MPO is a great tool. And you know, we paid for our portion on that, but it's going to give me information that that will allow us to fix the worst roads first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions? None? Okay, we'll move on to item, flip over my agenda here. Item 5D, Move Ascension Report. Mr. Burst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. In your packets or at your station, you should have a Move Ascension briefing with you. The beginning one right here, we'll jump kind of into construction, and you can see that 10 projects have been constructed in full to date, and you can see them listed right there. We do have 4 currently under construction, and Joey hit on those during his transportation briefing. But what I do want to kind of highlight is kind of what's up next. We have 4 currently under construction, and then we took bids on back in August on the 61 Germany intersection improvement project. And as Joey said, as soon as that gets a signed contract, we'll have a pre-construction meeting and get them NTP'd and underway. We're going to have a bid opening. It's already been advertised, a bid opening in November for the Henry Road clearing and grubbing contract to go ahead and clear that entire corridor from 73 to Tillotson through this roundabout project that Joe was just talking about. And what that'll allow us to do is go and get in there, similar to the Rowdy project, and move those utilities back so that then we can put ourselves in position to go to construction. We're going to, hopefully in the next month, we're going to start taking some bids and getting quotes to do some clearing work on the next 2 roundabouts that could be constructed that are complete with design and right-of-way acquisition. That's 929, 930, and Bro, Germany. And then we just have to move utilities, but the DOT has a schedule to be let to construction in March for the 929 Parker Road roundabout as well. Moving into pre-construction, we're not just going to construction with a bunch of projects and don't have anything at the ready. We're continuing to do design. We're continuing to acquire right-of-way, work with the utility companies to move their lines. So it is a continuous and seamless flow of project delivery. And you can see the ones that are currently in design now and or about to go to design. I will draw your attention to about the middle of your list there, the 73 roundabout at the Bluff Connector Road project. We've been able to secure $3 million in federal funds for that project. The DOT is wrapping up their report and going to submit it to us here this week or early part of next week, at which time then we can task out one of our design consultants and make it a Move Ascension project. The one Councilman Lambert was just referring to, that Joey just talked about as well, is the Henderson Bayou Bridge embankment widening. We are poised to assign that project to get that design underway as well. I do want to say that we do stand ready. The MPO now is, by the end of this year, planning on releasing the projects that will be awarded this new federal dollars from this recent call for projects. We anticipate, and I'll get into that when we get to the financial section, receiving federal funds for several more projects. So then we can be in position to assign those to some of the design consultants and begin design on another handful of projects as well. Also recently, the school board was just awarded some money by the state legislature to begin design by right-of-way move utilities for the Highway 44 and Parker Road roundabout. We're going to have a meeting At the direction of the administration, I will set that up to bring the school board in to discuss who is best positioned to go ahead and design that project and deliver it in a timely fashion, obviously with the school right there and the one that will be constructed further to the west. Moving on to utilities, I can't stress this enough. This is absolutely the critical path of getting these projects done. You can obviously see we've completed a lot of utility relocations already. We are working with Demco to get some of their lines moved right now at the Cerverio Merritt Evans intersection, as that project is already under construction, but their poles have not been moved yet.
Jeff, might I interrupt you
yes,
one
sir.
moment? Councilman Wagasback has a question.
Oh,
I
yes,
wanted to
sir.
ask before we got off the top page.
Oh, sure.
What are we looking at? So I get a lot of phone calls about Duplessis Road and Germany. I mean, obviously one feeds into the other. It carries a lot of traffic to the interstate. What is a true timeline on completion of those two?
Yep.
And is one, I'm assuming Duplessis will be done before, or does it?
Well, they're pretty much on the same glide path right now.
Okay.
We actually scheduled, the DOT, we have federal money on both of these projects
Okay,
to attached to right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations, and construction. Due to that, it has to follow the DOT plan development glide path. We are finished with preliminary design on both projects. The DOT has scheduled in the next 2 weeks, both what they call plan in hands, where we meet with all stakeholders, designers, the DOT, the right-of-way people, everything. We walk the job, we go over the plans, and then we schedule then what's called a joint plan review to go over the maps, so that we can then begin finalizing and start acquiring right-of-way as we move into final design. So throughout '22, we're going to be positioned to be buying right-of-way along both corridors. I've actually ramped up my right-of-way acquisition sub-consultant teams to be positioned to do so. There are, on both roadways, approximately 220 ownerships to acquire. So it will be somewhat of a lengthy process.
each or that's for both?
No, combined for both.
Combined, okay.
And that's not to mention the other projects that we have going on that we're acquiring right of way. So, but, the good news on that is we can then be positioned to start using those federal dollars for that land acquisition.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. But I mean, done probably into 2023.
Whoa, do you mean done like construction?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's further out. Okay, no, I'm just asking.
And the reason I said, and Jeff can elaborate more, utilities.
Hold
And
us up.
that's going to be the driving path, because what we're going to have to do is, throughout '22, we will finalize design and acquire the right-of-way.
Right.
And to be fair, right-of-way acquisition may leak into '23. Then we're going to have to let clearing and grubbing projects to get everything out of the way to the right-of-way line on both projects. And then, by then, these projects are a little bit further down in the queue to have utility companies come in and move, just because there's so many other projects ahead of them. Not just the quicker spot roundabouts and intersection improvements, but the longer corridors, like 3 miles of Rowdy Road, 1.5 miles of Henry, 1 3/4 miles of 930, where these are long corridors that can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to get all utilities out of the way before you can begin construction. And it is a 3-year federal fiscal year allocation of the monies. So those roads will become eligible in '22, '3, and '4, where 4, we could be programmed for construction dollars. That being said, for example, on 930, I'm talking about utility companies getting out, there are 9 different utilities and 3 pipelines. Well, 2 pipeline companies, but 3 lines itself. So, I mean, it is an effort to coordinate and oversee just getting those relocations done. But that is the current schedule as of now.
No, I just want an accurate picture. I appreciate that.
Sure. Yes, sir. Okay. Back on page 2, again, on utility relocations, you can kind of see what's up next. Item 4, we're going to try to hit these roundabouts so that while they do take an elongated time on some of these longer multi-mile corridors, we can begin construction on multiple intersection improvement projects at the same time. Right-of-way acquisitions ongoing. As I mentioned, we've already acquired 259 parcels of property of 516 identified. 14 complete projects, every piece of right-of-way has been acquired. With another 3 projects, we'll have everything acquired by the end of the year. We are beginning to acquire, Joey mentioned some off-system bridge projects. I'm sorry.
I have to interrupt you one more time.
No, no.
Councilman, I'd like to allow people to speak as it comes up to them, otherwise I
Certainly.
forget. Councilman Cagalati.
I'm sorry, yeah. Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Back to item 4 up next. Is that the order that they will be completed? 1 through 6, or not necessarily?
On the design,
No, up next, page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Page 2, item
It's-
4 under,
not necessarily the
Okay.
exact order, but the roundabouts will be first.
okay,
Which roundabout we can get the intersections cleared would probably jump up in line. For example, you'll see here the Rowdy Church Point. Well, we're going to have clearing guys out there starting next week. So that one might jump ahead of the list because we can't get the clearing guys out there at 9:29, 9:30 till after that. So this isn't the exact order, no. This was anticipated, but as contracts can get underway and we can get contractors out there, some of the clearing operations really then kind of dictate when we can get in our utility companies in there to move their lines.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Just mentioning and closing out right away on the off-system bridges, as Joey mentioned, the DOTD has slated to put up money to construct 2 bridges in Ascension off-system. You can see it's the Manchak Acres Road and H.H. Wilson. So we're in the process now. The CEA with DOTD says they will fund design, then turn it over to us. We are responsible as parish to acquire the right-of-way, coordinate getting the utilities moved, and then we pass the baton back to them. They will let it to construction and oversee inspection, similar to one we did on Babin Road. Next section moving into is financials. There you see a list of monies we've been successful in acquiring both at the state and federal level on behalf of the parish and the program. I do want to mostly draw your attention to the 4th bullet. We submitted for this past call for projects a joint application with the city of Gonzales to receive federal dollars of almost $15 million for a airline highway, what's called a super street project. DOTD has supported this project, has been involved in the feasibility analysis early on, and while the MPO has not finalized the scoring and the lists, this is not the only one we're in contention for, this was the #1 scored project of all 39 from all other entities in the MPO. So whether or not we get the full allotment of federal funds we had requested, between that and the other 5 projects submitted, all seemingly have ranked very high. I don't want to guarantee a set amount of money because the scoring process is not complete, but it looks like we'll be positioned to receive several $1 million in the federal monies for this project. As y'all are well aware, we received cash for the road transfer project that the parish did elect to do as opposed to credits. And I do want to just make mention of 2 other successful attempts that we're very pleased with. Other parishes were not able to utilize all of the funds they were previously awarded. You can see the 4th to last bullet there, unobligated funds that go back to the pot, and then we were able to apply and take another parish's money, that $1.4 million, in unobligated, because we were at the ready, whereas they were not in a position to take advantage. And then again, the exempt funds, we were able to take advantage of another special pot of money to the tune of another $2.1 million. And so, we continue, and, and under the guidance and direction of the administration, we're going to continue to push hard to secure federal grant and at the state level as well, monies to augment this program. and not just rely on the one-time bond sale. Also part of the financial section, if you flip to the other page, you'll see, and that's been requested by this committee, periodically, I try to bring you a snapshot of the funds that have been spent to date and/or under contract, not necessarily spent, in the various categories, whether it be engineering, right-of-way, utilities, environmental, construction, inspection, and material testing, the amounts to date, and again, that's not necessarily spent, but under contract, and then the percent breakdown by each category there. And as noted at the last financial briefing, the design presents the highest dollar, but construction is quickly catching up, and as we mentioned, very soon, and all throughout 22 will greatly surpass that number. So as we're getting these projects on the shelf and ready to go, we will be letting these projects, like I said, by the end of this year and well into 22. So we'll see a lot of activity in Ascension Parish. Upcoming activities, we want to bring back a steering committee meeting, hopefully by the end of this year or early part of next. We're meeting with the utility companies, we're preparing construction proposals, and as I mentioned, with all the new construction, we hope to be having a lot of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings coming up soon. And with that, you just see the usual ongoing activities of design oversight, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations, and continuing analysis of the program. And then the last is just a screenshot of some of the new pages on the website. Actually, the project pipeline has actually been updated as of today, so that is actually current, whereas the screenshot you show here, the in progress, is not current. And again, we will be giving briefings and updating the website now on a monthly basis, giving briefings on what has happened each and every month that we come, and under the guidance and leadership of the administration, we're going to be putting a lot more effort into updating the website to provide the residents with better, on-time, and accurate information. With that, that's the end of my briefing, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Yes, Councilman Wagensback.
Yeah, on the, I just wanted to, for clarification, on the Move Ascension expenditures to date. Is there, I'm assuming that's not all money we've put up. That's the money spent, including the federal and state funds we've gained from applying for funds. I mean,
Yes, projects that have been eligible for federal dollars that we get reimbursed for would be reflective in these numbers. For example, under construction, almost $2 million in construction contracts, not spent to date, but just on the contracts.
Right.
If any of those had federal dollars, that's reflected in this. Or state DOT safety funds, for example, will be applied to the Church Point Roundabout, the Parker Roundabout.
right. How hard would it be, and this is just me being curious, but I think people would be interested to see, could you do a breakdown, maybe a different pie chart, funds committed to date, and then another chart that would say where the funds come from? Like,
Oh, absolutely, yes, sir.
see, so just people would see what the parish puts out,
Yes,
what we gain in state funds, what we gain in federal funds.
absolutely. We absolutely have that information, and I can provide that and to you in the meantime, and certainly actually add that to the presentation for the next month.
Okay.
But I can certainly provide that to you well ahead of time.
Yeah, I just
we have
think
that
it'd be
information
something
now.
good to see. I think it'd be something, might be something good to put on the website to let people.
We will absolutely do that under the
Okay.
financial pages.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Mason.
Hey, Jeff, I apologize if I missed this, but the 61 at Germany Road intersection improvement, that's obviously a huge contingency in me and Mr. Wagesback's district. It said the bid opened on August 18th. Where are we with that process right now?
Right now, it stands with the contractor in our legal section.
Okay.
And as soon as the contract is signed, myself and Joey will hold a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and then give them an MTP for a start date, giving them a little bit of time to mobilize in. So that'll be coming very soon.
Oh, good. Okay. That's the one I get the most calls about. Thank you.
Some cones.
Yes.
Yeah, I did get calls about that one. Thanks for bringing that up. I was thinking about it earlier and it left my mind.
Thank you.
Councilman Cagnalotti.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for the report. I'm glad you pointed out that engineering, if people look at this graphic, they'll say 11 million versus 9 million construction.
Right.
But as you've also pointed out, when we do engineering design and we bring those projects to the MPO, to CRPC, or apply for any federal or state funding, they look at shovel-ready projects. And when you have it engineered and ready to go, you're gonna, like you said, some people got kicked out because they didn't have that. We went forward and we got some money that they couldn't get because they weren't prepared.
That is
So-
actually one of the scoring criteria.
Absolutely. So it's just a good thing to point out to the people that when we design a project, and we have it ready, or they call it shovel-ready, it means a whole lot of, it's very important to get funding when you have it set that way.
It does position the parish well to go and secure additional federal dollars for construction.
Good. I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Councilman. Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The off-system bridges, H.H. Wilson Road.
Yes, sir.
This is a one-way in, one-way out, so please, as early as possible, we need to, notify these people and just make sure that we can get them in and out.
Now, I do want to clarify that our role in the CEA is only right-of-way acquisition and utility relocation. DOTD then takes back control of the project for construction and inspection, but they are cognizant of that, and the plans do show methods to get the residents in and out. They haven't finalized their, I guess, their constructability sequencing, so I can't say that definitively to date what it would be, but the department is responsible for that, and access is maintained when they do these off-system programs.
Sure. Thank you for that. And the other thing, maybe Joy, you come in on this also, but the 14.5 million in federal aid, what are we trying to make 3 lanes on Airline Highway to match up what we have on Perkins, between Highway 42 and Perkins, or the line, or what's going on?
No, sir. I actually have conceptual schematics. It actually improves 5 different intersections along Airline Highway,
Okay.
including a roundabout on 44 at Lowe's Avenue. It includes a major intersection improvement at Airline and 44, Airline and Church. It's 5 of them. One at Prepara, one at Cornerview, and then some smaller little improvements. I can send y'all those schematics of exactly which intersections and what types of improvements that they're going to be making.
Okay. So that's what you're calling a super street project?
That's the name that, yes. The
Okay.
DOTD, the DOTD traffic section has a name for that, and based on their report, that's what it's called.
Okay. That's good information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item E, approval to renew the DPW surveying retainer contract at the budgeted amount of $150,000.
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Any discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5F, amendment to renew geotechnical retainer contract, $300,000 total share among 3 consultants, Gulf South Engineering and Testing, Arteman and Associates, and the Beta Group, Project ENG-19-26. Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Any discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5G, Resolution-2021-2022, recommendation of approval of certificate of compliance for off-system bridge replacement program renewal.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Cagnalotti. Any discussion? Any objections? None? So moved.
Aaron? I just wanted to
Yes.
add on that part, DOTD schedules, in that resolution, this is just to say that we're wanting to continue with the all-system program, but it does list those two bridges that's in the next project. DOTD schedule shows it to be let in July of 2023. So that's H.H. Wilson and the Manchak Acres Bridge over Cotton Bayou.
Okay. Great. Children. Item 5H, recommendation to send to council for approval change order number 1 for the Rowdy Road intersection improvement at Joe Cerverio at Merritt Evans Road to add a catch basin and pipe to enclose the ditch at the cost of $8,144. Richard Price Contracting Company, LLC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Lambert and by Councilman Mason. I did note that I always look at change orders and see where we are on those. And I have to commend your department right now, Mr. Turo, that change order is 2.6% of the total budget. So we're really keeping things, when we budget something, we're staying very close to where we have to be. So good job, and I have a couple more of those. But any discussion, any objections? None. So moved. Item 5I, recommendation to send to council for approval of change order number 2 for the Henry Road at AP 930 Roundabout project to provide for much excavation required at the existing ditches and for additional maintenance aggregate required for a total of $21,735. We have a motion by Councilman Mason and a second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any discussion? I will say that the total for this change order is only 1.6% of the total budget. So once again, great job. Any objections? Councilman Lambert.
I would, you most probably gonna have to water some of those Indian hawthorns, and I figured you'd take that on since this is your first roundabout.
Sure. I think that roundabout straddles Councilman Mason's district also. So
Take turns. I don't know, after appropriation, after enforcement, it might be different.
yes,
That's in the irrigation system.
but we will take care of that.
We'll let the school handle it.
But any objections? None. So moved. And let's see, I guess we're on J. Wow. Recommendation to send to council for approval of change order number 1 for 2020 road rehabilitation task order number 1 at a cost overrun of $62,852. R.J. Daigle. We have a motion and a second. A motion by Councilman Lambert, a second by Councilman Wagsback. Once again, this change order is only 2.7%. Doing a good job on it, guys. Any discussion? Any objections? None. So moved. Item 5K, recommendation to send for council approval for change order number 2 to the Move Ascension Project, MA-17-11, Road 170024, C-Row Safety Widening to add the full length of existing driveway pipes, asphalt, concrete patching needed, and maintenance aggregate that will be needed to maintain driveway access at an added cost of $149,275.60. Command Construction Industries. We have a motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilman Mason. We have a question by Councilman Wagasback.
Hey, Joey, I guess this is just a bigger amount, change order. Is this something that we missed during design that, we didn't anticipate having to?
Yeah, one big item was, for some reason, they just provided for driveway pipes just outside the existing, not the existing, but just outside the new driveway length. I chose to give the resident back what they had before, and a lot of times they had more pipe than what the plans called for. And I think if each resident, if we gave them a shorter length of pipe than what they had in the first place, we would have gotten a lot of calls. So that's, it was, it was just surprising to me that the plans had that. So that was the reason for that one.
So this is just actually us putting it back the way we found it.
Correct. If we would have
Fair enough.
given people less driveway pipe than what they had before, we would have had a lot of unhappy campers
agree.
on that road.
What's the percentage on this one?
It's 6.2% of the
A
original
little bit
cost.
higher, but
A little bit
something
higher,
that's
still
little
within 10%, and actually, we also saved, based on redesign, about $400,000 off this project. So it's still, that would make it at 7.8%.
So we know a net negative.
Yes, we're still
All right,
doing very well
perfect.
on the project,
Good.
as with everything we do that comes out of transportation. We are. We have,
Just add, I know through the crash data, the more piping we can put in the ground we don't want them hitting the ditches. And I've heard they've had some head-ons and a few other wrecks there. So anything we can do to prevent this is road safety.
Right.
yes.
Definitely a safety improvement project and one that was sorely needed.
Sure.
Speed limit back to 18 miles an hour.
I'll let you make that motion. Do we have any objection to this? None, so moved. Item 5L, approval of amendment number 9 to the HNTB master contract for general engineering consultant services. Renew the existing contract through December 31st, 2022, and increase the contract amount by $2,405,000. I'm going to call Mr. Burst up and I do believe we may have some questions. If y'all want to hit your buttons, I'll call y'all in order. Councilman Waxback.
We just asking, okay, I didn't know if he was gonna speak and then we were
Well,
gonna
I
ask.
knew that we had questions on this. I figured I would let people ask questions unless you'd like to make a presentation first.
I didn't have one particularly
Yeah.
prepared, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about.
So just to clarify, I mean, if we approve this here, we still go in front of the full council.
Correct.
This, I guess, would be one for administration, but we can ask that at the council, but I'm assuming this is budgeted for next year.
Yes.
And then the next question would be just, so, if somebody sees that amount, they're gonna be like, oh man, that's a big amount. I mean, is there a comparison to years past? And again, this is kind of why I was asking for the breakdown on the funds, because I think it's important for people to understand what your professional services bring us in application for grants. And I mean, we have several contractors for the parish, with OSHEP, with drainage that we go get additional funds for. So just, if you could speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So, talking about the amounts, is that it's a larger amount than what you've seen over the last several years for program management.
Okay.
The reason for that is we have 5 sub-consultant firms that do various aspects of the project. For example, our 5 sub-consultant firms do environmental clearances and Corps of Engineer permitting, right-of-way acquisition, full services. We have a couple firms that do that. We have traffic modeling and analysis we're doing, topographic surveys, property maps, right-of-way mapping, right-of-way staking, which is a huge part of the acquisition process, as well as public information and outreach. So, meeting with the parish finance team and a new chief financial officer, we were looking at the expenditures for the rest of 21 for the program, as well as projections for 22 and beyond. So what's come to light is those 5 sub-consultants on our team, we have not re-upped any funds into their little buckets of money to do all those services I just mentioned in over 4 years. So now that theirs is coming where we don't have any, but have all these other projects to continue right-of-way acquisition, environmental permitting, traffic modeling and analysis, et cetera, they thought it best to go ahead and add monies to those buckets for the sub-consultants. For overall program management, that's a pass-through to sub-consultants. For overall program management, we're actually asking for less as we get hone the man-hours it takes to do what we do. At the beginning, we were standing up a program from nothing. Well, now we're pretty steady stream and know exactly what it takes to run the program. But what the difference is this year is the 5 sub-consultants. We haven't put any money into those other services for those other 5 firms in over 4 years. And that's why it is the way it is. And talking with parish finance, they said, well, if they're going to run out in spring or May of '22, why are we going to go amend the budget, go before council? We would like to go for that ask now.
Right, so when we started, we probably guessed an amount that would take us the 4 years.
And that's
We're getting
carried
to
us
the end of
through.
that, so
And
we're
now-
adding more money to the buckets. This is and again, not to exceed, this is.
That's
as we
correct. It's not
address
to
task
exceed
orders as
available
they-
rates.
Okay.
And so, we do program management year to year, and we put in monies and estimate out for the sub-consultants to do, as I mentioned, all those services, the environmental, the right-of-way acquisition, traffic modeling, survey, and et cetera.
Okay,
That's the difference.
all right, thank you.
Did you receive the actual
I
breakdown?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, I read it, but I still think it's good to,
No, I'm happy to
yeah,
answer.
no, I read it.
Okay.
Thanks.
And while we're talking, I pulled up the budget that we got, I guess it was last night. For the 2022 budget, there's 4.88 million for engineering fees, capital. There's 165,000 for professional services, acquisition of right-of-way. There's 7.2 million in the budget, and contractual payments for capital construction, basically 16 million. So there's 27 million in the 2022 projected budget. This is taking a very small portion of that for the engineering fees and the right-of-way and all of that. So it is budgeted. Councilman Cagnalotti.
If you look at the financial section of his report, and you add it all up, it's about $50 million, and 2 represents about 4%
Yeah.
of that, so that's a pretty good budget. Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Waxback. Any further discussion? Any objections? None, so moved. Okay, then moving on to, let's see. Item 5M, recommendation to present to council for final acceptance, substantial completion for emergency repair of 3 bridges, Manchak Acres Road Bridge, Muddy Creek Road Bridge, and Joe Boy Road.
Second.
Motion and second. Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Yes. Mr. Turra.
Dempsey, I just wanted to add that part. This is Joe Boy Road, so Joe Boy Road is repaired, so that was part of this. So we had some pilings that were issues, so that's been fixed.
And I like to ask questions. I'm getting a lot of questions on the Muddy Acres, Manchak Acres. Get the two
Manchak
straight.
Acres
Yes.
over Muddy Creek.
Over Muddy Creek. That's why I get them
Yeah.
confused about that. We are moving forward as fast as we can. Is that correct?
Correct. But it is a normal project because, it's a substantial amount of money to fix it. So, I mean, it's not something that we can just go grab a contractor to do the work. It's going to go out for the normal bid process.
Okay, we do have to do
It
that.
will get advertised, as a normal construction project that we do. When we get low bid, we'll get contracts signed. So, all of that. Where we're at right now is the plans are very close to being finished. I'm still getting used to McKee and Creed is the consultant that's working on the plans, and I can't pronounce Talene's last name either, so I'm gonna have to say Talene.
Talene
She's
K.
done a good job in getting those plans together. She's very close to getting them finished, so the advertisement should come out in the next week or so.
Okay. Is there anything you need from this committee or the council to move forward on this?
Nope, we've got a normal procedure we're going to go through, and I know the people on that road have been very patient. We're going to continue to, to let you know on that roadway, that bridge is a parish-owned bridge. There's no state funding, federal funding, or anything. This is strictly our nickel. The bridge is going to be replaced with box culverts, which is going to be great. We're not going to have to, put any money in to maintain it 10, 15 years down the line. And the people have to endure going around. The other unfortunate thing is, even after this one's finished, the other Manchak Acres Bridge, which is an off-system bridge, that one is due for replacement also. So in the not-too-distant future, that bridge is going to be replaced. So those poor people on that road, we're going to be testing their patience.
Yes. Yes, and I feel for them, but progress is hard sometimes.
Yep.
So, any objections? None, so moved. And item N, recommendation to present to council for final acceptance, substantial completion for repair of Manchak Acres Bridge over Muddy Creek.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Mason, second by Councilman Kakalati. Any discussion, any objections? None, so moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. Thank everybody very much.